Hey guys, if you haven't noticed, I figured out how to flip my camera, my projection of the camera to be more accurate for me. So, let's see what happens. I think I'll be using this from now on. So yeah, let's go ahead, shall we?
Rev up your engine!
Mr. Bob said, is the X-Cap magic pill a real thing for gas mileage, or is it snake oil?
I'm going to assume the second one.
Kevin Hunter, the homework guy, is hawking a pill that's supposed to get you 20% better gas mileage. Is this snake oil? Could it do damage? Okay, well, I don't know what's in those things. I've tried out about every single one of people met. I never saw any of them work. Here is the thing. One, you can fake anything on video, so I wouldn't believe any of it.
You could fake anything on video, and you can also show truth on video. The video can pick either one up, can record and, either one just as easy. It takes extra effort to show truth and to show that you are in good faith and to show that you are able to, be factual and actually, showing that you're being honest and you're being objective. That takes more effort, but again, it can be done, and video can easily record fakeness or truth, either or. Anyway.
A lot of the stuff is false advertising.
See, you just confirmed why I assume the latter.
Here's an example. Years ago, I was trying some of these air filters out, and these guys say, oh, look, you put in this air filter, you can get 30% more horsepower. I'm sitting there thinking, well, that doesn't make any sense, because if that was the case, they'd build them that way.
Are you sure, Scotty? Are you sure about that? I got 2 green car reports, actual documentation of the Blue Motion, Volkswagen Blue Motion, a video ranting about it by, I'm going to link in the description below, by a man, D. Elvis 11 or Delvis 11, I don't know, what the fuck. And I think this banning from over here in American markets that could take a lot of advantage in delivery services and all sorts of opportunities to lessen fuel costs and cheapen delivery services and all that, private and the public, quote-unquote public. That thing being banned over here is probably why the sales of this fucking thing was discontinued, because the Polo and Volkswagen. I think that the marketing opportunities over here, if it was not banned from a business for supporting businesses and lowering their fuel costs, probably would have fucking made this work a lot. Would have probably contributed a lot to the discontinuation that happened. And they finally announced it the last of July 2015. 2 years after they said, "Oh, we won't get this in the States because it's banned from over here." So again, you sure about that?
Because the EPA gives them bonus points for getting better gas mileage, right?
As long as there is the feds and the banksters that most likely use petroleum as an oil reserve. That's why it's a petrocurrency trade network. That's why it's called the fucking petrodollar. That's why you look at warmonger policies and where they lead. What resources are warmongering for? That's why it's called the petrodollar. That's why the fucking feds over here and the fucking Rothschilds were screeching at the Saudi Arabs for considering trade discussions with China and Russia. just saying. Just fucking letting you know that.
And a lot of these tests, they'll have an engine that's all carboned up, right? Now, maybe the pill has some kind of catalyst in it that it will help burn the carbon out of the engine.
By the way, the video, the upcoming video, It Fits So Great, Why Ain't It in Cars Now, is going to have all the references to that particular politicking I'm talking about. I'll walk you through the shit. That's why it's going to take a little while to watch, because I'm walking you through step by step best I can.
And then, yes, the vehicle could get better gas mileage.
Yes, because you're cleaning it up. Sure. That's entertaining the silly notion that a pill has something like that in it.
You're never going to get better gas mileage than when that vehicle was brand new. They're designed to get the most gas mileage they can.
That's objectively false.
For that particular design, and you can't do much better.
I'm going to press X to doubt there, too.
Like most of the designs today on modern cars last few years are burning the gasoline for that engine design 99% efficiently. So then you got 1% to mess with. Big deal. You'll never get that 1%. And even if you did, that's only 1%. That's not 20, 30%, right? Now, I'm not talking the absolute pure efficiency of getting the energy out of gasoline, because gasoline motors are very inefficient. You might only get 30% out of it. But for that particular design, they can get 99% out of it for the way that it's designed, right? And putting a magic pill in the gas tank is not going to change that fact of physics, right? People have been selling that crap for years. I don't understand. I don't know if be false or that garbage. What P.T. Barnum said, there's a sucker born every minute. Yeah, and that's almost all that stuff is. But
yeah.
Like I said, you can either fake it with a video, or you can do an underlying false video by getting a junker that's all clogged up, and maybe the pill will clean the crud out, and then it'll get better gas mileage, right? Until it gets back to what it originally was. Then it won't get any better than that. As for will it do any damage, I don't know. Something like that, you'd have to take it to a chemical engineer who understood petrochemicals to say, okay, here's the reaction that this has. Because I know back in the day, they used to have additives that you could put in your oil that would help the engines run better and could seal a little bit of the worn metal. And it worked on the old clunker American V8s, but if you put it in a modern GDI engine, you'd make the engine explode. I wouldn't mess with any of that stuff if I were you. You know,
I agree with him about the pills and gas pills and all that shit, because you could fuck something up. But let me explain something. I'm going to show the first off. I'm going to show the fuel burned by mass and by volume computer generated graphs. This is before top dead center, and this is after top dead center. Okay, mass burned hits the peak, right? The best of the curvature happens. It's gonna, volume burned and mass burn, the best angle is right here at 20 degrees after top dead center, confirming my case of what I'm about to explain next. And then you have the quenching point, lean fuel mixture points, atomized droplets of fuel, actual gaseous vapor fuel, the pre-release points of all those between there, and this is at the intake and compression, and then power and exhaust strokes. Ignition points a little bit before top dead center, because again, this is the way they're done. And just because a fucking fuel burns completely, does it? Which if you noticed the pre-catalytic converter exhaust measures, no, it fucking ain't, bud. If it was true, let's just entertain that bullshit notion that it is. Is it actually burned to get the most out of it? Timing is fucking everything. That's why I'm showing you. I put a straight line through. I could draw a straight line through this at 20 degrees after top dead center, and show you right here is where that peak really hits its best, and you want to emphasize that. Top dead center is when this little nodule right here that connects to the connecting rod, which connects to the pistons facing up top, and it lines with the middle. It lines perfectly with the middle of the crankshaft. Right, that's top dead center. Bottom dead center is facing all the way down, and it lines up that way. That's why I showed this graph. So anyway, I'll keep it on there just to help you paint the fucking picture. One, any fuel that burns before top dead center creates a pressure that fights the upward movement of the piston on the compression stroke. You do recover some of that because the pressure is still there to push the piston down once it goes past the top dead center point. Ignition is before top dead center because it takes time for the burning processes to fully kick off. If you have a faster burning fuel, you should retard the ignition toward top dead center, make it close to top dead center as possible. Unless you actually can do that right there. It is known that the most thermally efficient combustion happens between 10 degrees after top dead center, 10 degrees after top dead center, and 20 degrees after top dead center. Why do you think I showed this graph here? Okay? Just to give you a little fucking picture. This is at the time that the pressure and heat rise caused by burning is most effectively converted to mechanical energy or ability to do work by the machine. This is usually, they say could be up to half of the fuel mass. I'm not sure, but they say that could be up to that. Some people say. Debatable. Mass and volume are two different things. You got to remember. That's why that fucking computer generated thing is there. And there you go. See that? 50. That's mass. See that? Up to that's the curvature. You see that for yourself. Okay. 3. Fuel that burns after top dead center is mostly wasted because A, the piston is now speeding downwards away from top dead center, lowering the thermal efficiency. B, the rising cylinder volume is lowering the actual overall pressure, pushing the piston. And C, the burning is being quenched by excess fuel. The droplets coming out the injector vaporizing or being flushed down the intake by carburetors. Vaporizing to make a rich mix to quench the flame to keep the temperatures from getting too high before and after flowing out the exhaust. The post 20 degrees after top dead center burning is when your heat saturation of the engine parts happens the most, and anything after that. And if you got a flame still before it's getting snuffed by the opening of the exhaust valve, your burning it's not really complete. First off, secondly, it's not efficient. Preheating your gasoline before injecting it into the injector into the combustion chamber at a minimum 115 degrees, at the hottest 120 degrees, and I even say Fahrenheit, by the way, at most, will allow the raw friction of the fuel coming out the injectors and heat of the burning chamber to squeezing air to fully vaporize more of the fuel by the time the spark, or ideally plasma, a ball of plasma, ideally I would say, because Murakami ignition, I show that shit, and I'm not afraid to say it, hits it. So the lower amount, you lower the fuel droplets and you raise the ratio of gaseous vapor at the start. Actual gaseous vapor by the time of ignition, you can have a potential to cut fuel burning by half without harming power, performance, and the exhaust emissions will bottom out before the catalytic converter will be needed to scrub up what's left. Okay? So, just saying. When you actually increase burning efficiency so that fuel burns, one, when it would be most efficiently converted to its heat, when it should be done fully to most effectively convert its heat to actual work. 2, completely in the shortest time that is most effective that converts heat energy to mechanical energy. It's not enough that fuel gets burned completely. It has to be fully burned up at the right time. Repeat after me. Timing is everything. Okay? Timing is everything. When you raise the thermal efficiency, getting more power out of less fuel because it's energy used to do work, the potential to do work divided by time. Turning the potential into energy, generating energy, and putting it to work as quickly as possible. Energy divided by time. It's a classic calculation in engineering and even in physics. The This is why I advocate people look at the doing stuff like this, and I advocate the electronic fuel injection enhancer for the oxygen sensors before and after catalytic converters. So I advocate this shit because when you raise thermal efficiency by getting the most power in the short time window, which realistically, based on the engine speed, the revolutions and movements per minute, the revolution is depicted here. That crankcase and the piston going up down, the crankcase going all the way around. That's a full revolution. Based on the revolutions or motions per minute, okay, you're basically going to have up to a 7 millisecond, 7 thousandths of a second time window to do all this, right? You raise the thermal efficiency by completing the burning within this time window. The CPU no longer properly responds to the info that's getting from its oxygen sensors because there's a lot more oxygen filled up. You know, a lot more oxygen and not taken up, right? It's more oxygen coming out the exhaust. The ECU continues to make false signals to the fuel injectors based on the program that assumes the fuel system is using the unenhanced combustion to throw more fuel to go back to normal. Instead of, so it'll go back to what the program says needs to be. The computer is programmed to allow high oxygen content to come out the tailpipe. Because again, it's programmed that more oxygen means the engine's running leaner and it's about to overheat. When the combustion is finished and finished faster, there's almost no carbon monoxide, very little, if any at all, very little NOx in the exhaust. So the oxygen would normally be tied up in CO, and NOx is free and shows up as increased oxygen. That's why I talk about this. The ECU will also try adjusting your air intake too in order to reduce air due to the false lean signal from all the freed up oxygen in the tailpipe. That's why you got a MAP/MAF sensor enhancer. Would be also nice to place into the airflow or air pressure sensor in the intake. If your vehicle intake is both, you'll need the dyno test run the vehicle to see which sensor works best with that enhancer. I would also recommend heat shield to insulate your exhaust piping and doubly thermal wrap it, because when you do these kind of efficiencies that I can object, that's going to happen. That's going to happen when you do. If you listen to me. It can happen. It's going to drop the fucking exhaust temps by a couple 100 degrees. You're going to need to ensure that heat stays in there so the catalytic converter can reduce and burn what little is going to be left over. You're going to have to do that. And if you got a turbocharger, turbo blanket that bitch. The hot side, obviously. And if you want to, use heat shield thermal wrapping, heat shielding, wrapping for the air intake tube, going to the turbo. So there you go. So insulate as much heat going to the catalytic converter as much as possible, so them oxygen sensors, the catalytic converter will still work properly in spite of the exhaust temp drop. That's going to happen. You need as little of that heat to escape. Stay concentrated in that pipe when this happens. If you go for a smog screening, it's too clean, you're going to want to get an emissions waiver. I'm not making this up either. So, if the Republicans get in and try to reestablish their old status quos, they will be more lenient to oil usage and levying off the emissions controls. This is where you may get the most lenience and wiggle room for this kind of shit. For this last part. That's if. So anyway, thank you for watching, guys. This is sorry, but this particular mileage thing, these particular claims that you can get the best out of what they got right now is objectively wrong. It's objectively wrong. Hold on. It's objectively wrong. You could get more mileage, but you got to learn how the Clean Air Act laws work and whatnot. You got to learn that you can adjust signaling the emissions equipment with, instead of a cheat device like Volvo did. I think it was Volvo or Volkswagen, whichever one it was, it actually made a cheat device. You allow combustion enhancement to happen and then let the signals get readjusted with an enhancer system, so you'll allow more oxygen out the tailpipe. So you're working in the opposite direction while bending the loophole in certain aspects of the Clean Air Act. It's a little bit of a rule bend, but you're doing it in the opposite direction and doing cleaner than what they tell you instead of putting the cheat device. It's a different thing. Anyways, guys, I hope I explained everything I could as best as possible, and hopefully you guys will have learned something. And please check out these references down below. Check these videos out, and yeah, have a blessed day.